lots of employers or HR managers or recruiters or team leaders, when they are looking to sponsor an employee from overseas or an employee in Australia offshore, but they need a visa, they need you to sponsor them. They're confused with the ANZSCO occupation list and the actual job description. And so they are so afraid about, oh, that's my job description, which is different to ANZSCO code. I am confused. This is indeed very confusing. It's because ANZSCO code occupation is really outdated. Actually, last year they only added a new occupation called data scientist, which has been in the market for years. But they just figure, hey, we just need to add that. So most times this is not reflecting to what's happening in the market. So what do we do when we have that situation where, occupation is? We firstly need to be honest about this position itself. What's this work actually to do with your business? So genuine position meaning that company, in order to operate well, to make money really, we need someone to do certain works to fulfill this, and that has to be full-time. Full-time really means 38 hours a week, right? Monday, Friday. Well, although sometimes they might need to work over the weekend, but the pay may vary. But what to do the occupation list? So really, we don't need to worry about that description. We really need to honor about the occupation itself, the requirement of you want that candidate to work in your position, in that company. What do they need to perform? So this is the first thing you really want to worry about, right? What do they want? This is the same process as anything else, right? If you're looking for a recruiter, what do you want that person to do? They may list out lots of stuff, or some of them are general, some of them are very specific, all right? As a candidate, so you might have two sets of job descriptions. One is really internal, facing to the candidates, because you want them to have a very specific skill, or you want them to perform very specific works. They might have a very different job description towards department requirement, which is completely fine. Okay, so we just need to really make sure that it's really matched. I would guess, say, 80% matched. Roughly the occupation, the work you do as a manager. So, for instance, data science, you might have someone specialized in machine learning. The work they perform may be completely different. Okay, so the first thing we need to honor is really about occupation itself. Then we look at the ANZSCO code. What department requirements or what's the Australia Bureau of Statistics saying about, well, this work is to do. Sometimes it's really funny. Then we find words really match you. That's not hard nowadays, isn't it? We can be a bit creative. The department is not really strict about it. You have to be precisely exactly the same of occupation. This is what I'm describing here. You can be different, and then that's fine. So mostly I argue it's we honor the occupation itself, and then we come back to ANZSCO code, see the matches, and then we describe and write according to department requirement. You don't want to be too far away from that requirement, isn't it? So, but the first thing really about the occupation itself. Of course, second thing is really about that department's requirement for ANZSCO code. You usually have a set of descriptions that sometimes not match with client's past experience. All right. So what the departmental requirement is at least 1 year work experience in the last 5 years. So candidates, for instance, 5 years ago, they might be a pilot, and then they start a PhD, right? Well, shall we say master's degree, okay? And then in the last 2 years, they became a data scientist or a programmer. That's fine. Nowadays, you don't need years experience to study as a programmer, become a programmer. You can actually learn really quick. So it doesn't matter. If 5 years ago, that person is a pilot, that's fine. Nowadays, we change occupation really frequently. I mean, we don't really follow a set of, sometimes it requires less time to become specialists. Or we spend less time in our works, we spend more time nowadays to really upskill, learn things that's outside scope of our work, right? For instance, I'm learning coding, which is not requirement for my job description whatsoever. I am a registered migration agent in Australia, but I'm learning UK's global talent program. I'm learning New Zealand's immigration program, right? Although I'm an immigration advisor for New Zealand immigration department as well. So, but my work's mostly really dealing with Australian immigration. Now, it doesn't really prevent me to learn code, programming. It doesn't prevent me to learn a different set of language, which is I might have multiple skills as a migration agent. So my occupation can be really migration consultant. It can be my occupation can be student consultant or student agent, because I help students find their suitable positions, suitable courses, and their career advisor. I can be career advisor. It really depends. Now, the most important for department requirements, you have to really justify in the last 5 years that candidates actually work at least 1 year of work experience. What do we mean by 1 year experience? How do we prove that? Someone sitting there for 38 hours a week working a full-time. How about they work for a part-time? They work part-time for 2 years. Does it count as 1 year full-time work experience? 100%. Why it doesn't count towards 1 year work experience? It does. All right. It has to be relevant. So relevance really about. So we have 3 sets of job descriptions. 1, departmental requirement, which is the ANZSCO code. 2nd, that employer's position. Okay, employer position. What do? And 3rd one, it's really about the candidate past experience has to be relevant. So all these 3 has to be relevant, aligned. They don't have to be 100% match. They can be 80%. Well, I guess 80% is fine. But mostly it's really about whether or not we have to justify and whether or not that a position is required for this company. If a company is a restaurant, and then do they need an accountant, full-time accountant? They don't. Accountant only work for them once quarterly, and once each quarter, they just talk to you 2 hours maximally, and then they spend 2 hours working on file. So do you need a full-time accountant for a restaurant? You don't. But do you need a cook for a restaurant? I guess you do. But do you need a restaurant manager for a takeaway shop? You don't. See? That's how you think. So if you start up, I need 5 programmers. We don't have money, but we have funding, okay? 5 programmers. Does it sound right? It does, right? So genuine, really, this is human sense, common sense. Well, what do we mean by genuine? For a migration consulting firm, we need someone who's full-time translator. No, we don't, because we outsource that works out to native translators. Do we need someone who's a student agent full-time? If my client base are lots of students, and then do we need a full-time student agent? We do. Okay, that's really simple. And you don't need to make it up story, right? And really, a lot of employers ask me, we only have 2 people. Can we sponsor one? I mean, we want 30 people working for us. It's fine. Does it really, my company need to be huge size? We're a very small family business. Can I still sponsor? 100%. It doesn't prevent you to sponsor, anyone you think that's suitable for that company growth. The most important part is not that. It's really about, you need to justify you can't find people locally. For some countries, if they have a trade agreement with Australia, you don't need to justify that. It meets the requirement. If the country which the countries of candidates are originally from, the countries are originally from not with a trade agreement with Australia, then you have to justify, you can't find people locally. How do you find people? You go post online or newspaper. I guess nowadays you don't use newspaper, but online, which is in public domains, that you need to find people. You want to find candidates, employees to work for you. And you screenshot it, all of them, none of them be, eligible for the position. And you must give reasons of that, why are not eligible, and then why that sponsoring candidate, they are most eligible. The reason can be really, really subjective. It's fine. It doesn't have to be objective. It is subjective view. You just don't feel that's right because you have no obligation to hire your neighbor child. You're running a business, right? So come to the earth about genuinely like what do you want, okay? And you must give a reason of that. As long as you give a reason, even you have, you are a small business owner and then you only have 2 employees right now, and then maybe your wife and daughter, and you want to hire someone from overseas because you believe that the clientele that they can handle is from Brazil, really, and you want them to speak Spanish, right? So it's really, really depending on the occupation, on your company itself. It doesn't really. We often think that sponsor has to be like large sponsor. Oh, it's very hard to become sponsor. It's hard to be the sponsor and approve a sponsorship. No, any business can be a sponsor. Any size of business can be a sponsor as long as your company is operating. Operating means you are running the company. You have income and you spend expenditures, right? In and out. That's considered a business. Oh, it doesn't really matter. You can be a small business of 2 people. You can be a big business of 200 people or 2,000 people. In Australia, it's large corporates. And we have 200 people in our company that's large corporates. Okay, usually a medium-sized business, you have 10, 50 people. That's very considerable size of company in Australia because the corporate structure is different, and it's really easy in Australia to register company. Like you just register online, you have PTY Ltd, limited company, you can operate like one-man band. That's fine. Even your one-man band, can you sponsor someone? Yes, why not? Well, nobody can prevent you. We don't. Department, I don't think they want to discriminate between small businesses and large corporates. Actually, the government wants to support small and medium business owners. They want to support small enterprises. And so that's fine. So that's no difference between big business and large corporates, big corporates and small business owners, small business. You all can sponsor candidate from overseas, as long as the position is still genuine. And then when I position genuine, it's like common sense. Do you need a cook working in a restaurant? Yes. Do you need cooking in a takeaway shop? You do, right? So really, if you say, I'm a restaurant, what do you mean by a restaurant? Fine dining restaurant, okay? Do you have a sitting area that someone needs to serve you with the menu? That is a restaurant. That's different to takeaway. So that's use some common sense. Of course, department in the past, they have a lot of experience in dealing with something that's really confusing settings. If that's a complexity, please don't forget to just comment below and leave a message. But really, there's no difference between small business or large corporate. In terms of the processing time, really, they look at the occupation, whether this is a core skill stream, which is really salary, about 75,000, or that specialist skill, which is the salaries are 147. So that is really differentiate between the processing time, because if the occupation is on the specialist stream, then the processing time the government promised they're going to process within a week, which is hopefully they do that, they deliver the promise. So in conclusion, it's really not about how do you describe the occupation, how do you match the ANZSCO code. It's really about whether or not that company's operation requires that person, and that position cannot be fulfilled locally. Okay, and then check if the person can do the job or not. Well, mostly if you find someone, at least they have more than 1 year experience. I don't think any business will hire someone only have 1 year experience from overseas. You don't want to be bothered with that. Okay, and then thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the button, subscribe our channel. We'll share more important information about sponsoring employees from overseas in Australia. Bye now.